So thank you, Kaustav. And I must say that despite the weather outside, I'm seeing almost a full house here, and I am beaming with joy for sure. And thank you very much for taking time out. And also my esteemed panelists. We had Samar just wade through and managed to reach in time. So thank you so much. And as we were discussing, the topic, we were just having an ice-breaking session, and we said that, optimizing content and communication with intelligent technology is such a pertinent topic today. And I thought, if I have to set context to this panel discussion, first and foremost, we need to really understand that what intelligent content really means. So intelligent content primarily combines the wonders of technology with human capability in a way that powerfully supports an organization's goals. That is the textbook definition of what intelligent content primarily means. But if you actually look at it, there is a constant pressure today because marketing has evolved a lot, and the role of marketing leaders also has, and therefore strategic thinking was expected earlier, but it's expected probably 5x times. I mean, isn't it? Or maybe 10x times in today's. And therefore, there's a need to direct, lead, and implement tomorrow's content strategy, and that decision rests on the shoulders of a couple of you guys here as well as a couple of the guys in the audiences out here. So when I was kind of studying on this topic, I just realized that what puts intelligent in the term intelligent content is what we need to understand very clearly, and therefore we have our esteemed panelists out here who will throw some light on this. And without further ado, I would like to delve on the questions that have been posted out here for our esteemed panelists. So my first question goes to you, Milind, and that is, content optimization involves crafting tiles using keywords effectively and creating valuable content. In what ways can AI-driven analytics inform content strategy and customer engagement?
Yeah, so I mean, since you're talking about keywords and tiles, it's clearly indicating towards digital, but I mean, it's equally possible to influence content even in physical activations, or even if you still deal with hard copies, which is unusual today, but might just be a pleasure for someone to receive something in direct mail. But having said that, I think it's important to understand who your audience is, right? And there are nowadays enough and more AI kind of tools that help you do that. The whole keyword strategy is being defined, and by tools like you could use Google Gemini to help you decide what sort of content, what sort of keywords you want to have. You can research your topics in the first place and then see what's being talked about, and therefore what your content should have. So automatically you're fixing your way to be there in that sense, right? And then once you know what you want to put out, the other thing is who do you want to put it out to? Particularly coming from the B2B landscape, it's not really a spray and pray or not really a mass market thing, right? What we in Tata Communications, for example, have to do is to segment our audiences, be very specific to the cohorts, or to, in fact, individual target accounts. And so there's some kind of deep research that needs to get done about accounts, what kind of intent are they showing. And so there's a lot of AI-driven possibilities out there. You kind of mine through that data and eventually arrive at those conclusions. And lastly, I would say once you've kind of decided, what the content is, who you're going to target it to, what exactly you will write and put out. Again, there are tools like copy.ai, etc., that are helping us maybe kind of even in-source some of what we used to earlier give out to agencies. We are able to in-source that up to almost 30-35%, and do it in-house now, and let the agencies do more high-value, high-production content rather than just stick to small, simpler tiles and so on. Yeah.
But when you look at organizations these days, the kind of content, first and foremost, their lineage. They would exist for a decade or maybe 2 decades. And there is so much of data that rests with the company and in the archives. So constantly being able to kind of retrieve them, reuse them, reposition them. Because over the due course of business, you have your existing customers as well as your new customers, right? And one size fits all doesn't really work. So then there is a constant fight for identifying which content is apt, when can you reuse it, how can you reposition it using the same words. And that cannot be done by humans alone. And that is why it becomes, say for example, Senthil sir, so I understand, the kind of company you lead and the initiatives that you lead, you have got your customers spread across the length, breadth and depth of India. So there is a lot of marketing data and content that you have, and your departments who work, obviously some of them work in silos, some of them don't. So it's a big task for you to be able to identify what was done a couple of years back, reuse it again today, and then reposition it as well. So a simple question, and you told me that you were a part of the discussion earlier as well. My question to you, sir, is how is Gen AI transforming the landscape of content personalization? And in your opinion, how can brands really maintain a balance between personalization and privacy, ensuring customers are feeling comfortable with AI-driven experiences, sir?
Okay, thank you. So, as you said, we are from the BFSI sector and we are a large public sector bank. Bank of Baroda, we are having around 16 crore customer base and our presence is across the country. So, we had been pushing content through various channels, maybe the website, maybe our press release, maybe our media campaigns, a lot of content we just push. But now the question coming here is that, are we using technology for optimizing our content communication both? So here, basically traditionally, we can see that both content and communication was there. What is disruption is technology, and what's the kind of opportunities these disruptions are bringing for how we are conveying our communication. Here, Bank of Baroda, we recently introduced Gen AI based virtual relationship manager. Our MD and CEO Bhattacharya has rolled out this as one of the pioneer initiative in this place where we are using Gen AI technology for customer interactions. As a virtual relationship manager, our Aditi is our virtual relationship manager, which is completely Gen AI powered, and it gives a human-like interaction to customers. So I was just talking to you in the morning also. An example was, we all have, that most of the organization have contact centers, and the contact centers are driven mostly by agents who communicate to our customers. Actually, that's a very, very critical contact point for customer interaction. And here, what normally we see is that the way a contact center agent communicates at the start of the day and end of the day, there are a lot of difference. The way his emotions are gone through, there are a lot of interactions, different type of customers, different queries. So we cannot actually bring the same kind of emotional interaction when it comes to dealing with the whole day. So, but this is where our virtual relationship manager called Aditi, which is completely Gen AI based, which gives the feeling to customer that it's almost like a human, but it has got the inherent capability of interacting with a lot of expressions in multiple languages and also giving a personalized experience to a customer. So this is one part of it. Second thing I want to tell is that the demography of customers we handle. We handle customers from senior citizens to young generation, new students. So there are a lot of information which we want to convey to the different geography. But we, as you say, that one shoe doesn't fit all. That doesn't work nowadays. And so we need to do a lot of personalization in our communication. That's where technology is really playing. And the second thing which I wanted to tell is that adding to what our virtual relationship manager we introduced, we are also having a Gen AI powered internal knowledge portal, which is completely supporting our internal employees on what all the, because as a bank, you know that there are a lot of circular, RBI guideline,
True.
product details, multiple things are there. So, but the customer is not into, customer is interested in what he wants and quick assistance is required. So this Gen AI powered knowledge portal has got the capability to our employees, internal actually. It gives this capability to interact and give the right content to address that query real-time basis. So these are some kind of use cases where I think most of the brands will be going forward using technology to feed their communication. The third thing I just want to take some more time because we actually digitized our branches with micro sites. So I have 8,500 branches totally in the bank, but even we have a digital presence of these branches. But now in Kerala, I have a branch where I am talking about some, maybe in Mumbai, Lal Bagh Ka Raja will be a very prominent interaction or engagement for a customer. But Kerala, it might be different thing. During Onam, it might be a different thing. So there are this, the kind of capability which technology is bringing in digital space is very immense, and highly personalized content I would be able to provide with the help of technology. Another important thing is transactions. In bank, you have multiple transactions with digitization going overboard and the kind of UPI transactions happening. We got a lot of behavioral data on the transactions which customers are doing. So on that, how we can actually leverage what exactly the customer wants and how we can give this communication to him. Many times we see that we think that the customer is interested in that content, but it's not always so. So what is the kind of behavioral feedback which the system can analyze and then position our content, suitable content and the relevant content and the right timing, as you said, the timing of the content. Today I am pushing some content in shoot. I have 7.5 million followers. Today I am sending some communication on some scheme or something, but that day IPL is happening and nobody is going to see about that content. So that day I'm just going to waste it if I'm pushing that content. So the timing, today the timing is very important, and that's where this kind of tools, particularly technology, is going to play, that this kind of information is available, the system can analyze this information, and then the human intervention or the timing can be positioned so that communication becomes more personalized, not only personalized, but the timing matches for conveying the communication is there.
Absolutely, sir. I mean, to provide the right content at the right time to the right person, irrespective of the device, is probably the need of the hour. Now, having said that, I'm very sure that most of the marketeers out here must be given the task of presenting how to achieve all this that Senthil sir just mentioned. And the first question that is asked to you is, what is the ROI, right? So, for the ROI, you will need to identify the right KPIs, the effectiveness of the content and the communication strategy. So this question is to, any one of you who would like to take a stab at this, that what KPIs should businesses track to evaluate the effectiveness of their content and communication strategies during the consideration stage? Because I guess most of us would want to know about this. Samar, would you like to go?
Okay. Firstly, thank you for inviting me here. Very, very interesting panel, very diverse. And when we look from, using of AI, particularly from the ROI perspective, at Onsurity, like every startup, we would love to pivot, correct? That's a favorite word in startups. Let's pivot and try, correct? So we have turned ROI as return on interactions rather than return on investments. Because we are into B2B business, correct? Like you said, most of the consumers, when we, interact, are either on the verge of getting into the consideration set or are into consideration set. I'll tell you a very simple example, like what Sir said, that it's not always about digital mediums, but also something like an offline event where AI can play a very, very critical role, and how we measure return on interaction in those things. Typically, we have lean teams. Correct? We deal with a specific community called HRs, correct? Which has a lot of human elements in their conversations. But when you go into locations outside our HO, usually you have people from the business side, correct? They may not have the right understanding and knowledge of, for example, conducting a roundtable. So that's the fear that they have, that how do I interact with customers who are into my consideration set besides business? That was a problem statement that was regularly coming to us. What we attempted, first, of course, we did a little pivot in our HO is, we used a speech to text module, where we said we did live roundtable of few leaders within the organization, and on the real time, the voice was getting converted into text and throwing up questions that the moderator could ask, based on the conversations that are going on, to the roundtable, correct? Now that gave a different, and we are just on the last stage of working on that. So once that model is little bit ready, correct, we can extend that to our business team and saying that, hey, don't worry, just, ensure that you follow these 1, 2, 3 steps, and whatever conversations are happening, to the best possible, it will never be 100%, but to the best possible, if it can throw cues on what should be our next question, what should be our next topic of discussion, correct, that will aid you to continue the moderation in the discussion in a particular forum. Now, it may sound very tactical, it may sound very, event specific, but when we do B2B businesses, besides the digital channel, the major problems that happen is on the offline leg, correct? And some of these, AI tools or the AI methods that we use helps us to build the right interaction, the return on interaction. And unfortunately, AI, when it got launched, everyone, like everyone does, they started focusing on the output. Oh, I'll put a prompt, let's see what comes out. Let's see what comes out, correct? Still, it had a lot of human bias because I could think something differently, give a different prompt. My content could be very different to the same consumer. Likewise with a different person. So now we have moved our focus on getting the right insights, correct? If I can build AI to work on my data, what level of efficiency can I bring into my unstructured data so that it starts getting a little bit of structure and throwing it to my marketer, I think that's the attempt which we are building to ensure that every ROI, whether it's digital or offline, has a return.
Perfect. I mean, it makes so much sense because at the end of the day, the quality of conversation, the emotion that is required to communicate to your customers plays a vital role, which is where sometimes, when we look at conversational marketing to help build trust and to personalize interactions, there is a very thin line. For example, one of my friend told me that she just wrote on the, on the chatbot, the section saying that, thank you very much for sending my luggage to Calcutta instead of Kochi. And the chatbot said, you're most welcome. We would love to serve you again. So they don't understand sarcasm. And that's when conversational, marketing is very critical, either through chatbots or through the communication that your team gives as to your customers or to your prospects. So my next question, in fact, I'll club two questions, and Argho, this is for you. You've been sitting, and I've been waiting to kind of hear you as well, is in what way conversational marketing helps build trust and personalized interactions for potential customers as well as your existing customers who are evaluating their options irrespective of whether they are using it? And then also when you talk about, real-time assistance when you use chatbots, do you think they actually influence your customers' decision making? And if yes or if no, how can businesses actually measure this success and impact? I think this is where, Argho, if you and, also Milind or Senthil sir or Samar, if you feel like adding some inputs, it will be very helpful for all of us.
Thanks. I will actually take the second question first, right, about chatbots. So it's basically very easy for me to let numbers answer. So if you look at the chatbot market, when I'm talking people investing in chatbots, it was around 5 billion last year, it's 7 billion this year, right? It's predicted to be around 15 billion by 2028. So that's growing at around 23-24% CAGR. The only next best thing is maybe our Nifty, right, which is growing at that speed. So that answers it, right? From the market perspective, do chatbots work or not? So marketeers are investing in chatbots, technology enthusiasts are investing in chatbots. So hopefully they work, right? The other part is, if you look at 2022, 1.9, this is according to Juniper Research, right? Around $1.9 billion worth of commerce happened through chatbots, right? In 2024, any wild guess? Okay, what's that number going to be? Anybody wants to take a guess? On e-commerce through chatbots. It's 147.
Anyone?
Yeah, it's 147 billion.
Wow.
That's this year. So
lot.
that's 400%. It has grown over the last 2 years. So does it work? Doesn't it work? Yes. The numbers say they do. But I have a personal grudge again calling it chatbots anymore, right? So people, it is basically a conversational commerce instrument. The whole idea is if you are only and only going to use it to service customer queries, it is never going to make ROI for you, right? Because you are only looking at one part of the customer or consumer segment, that is retaining them, keeping them happy, and maybe a bit of cross-sell, upsell. So it has also to come in from the acquisition side. So if you look at chatbots, there are 4 types of chatbots or conversational commerce instruments which is out there, right? The first is the generic input one. You input numbers, you input menu, and it works. The second time which came in was something which was rule-based or keyword-based, natural language they were processing. And that took the next step towards maybe customer service and acquisition. Then from there, conversational bots actually digressed into two different fields. One was what our social media commerce uses. The other is the hybrid bots, right? Hybrid bots are where you're taking an omni-channel experience, giving it to everybody. So it is, your chatbot shouldn't be an instrument in itself, but part of your buying journey, part of your customer service journey, and it should pick up inputs from wherever you have, right? It should have sentiment analysis skills, just as you said, right? It should have predictive analysis skill, right? We at PayU have a AI bot which will help you in two ways, right? It helps our customers to show the best offer to their customers. But when their customers are paying, we are showing them the best possible way to pay. So if their way is a credit card, we are showing them that. If it is UPI, we are showing them that. So the whole idea is that chatbots have to transition, or conversational bots have to transition from just a chat tool or a retention tool to or a acquisition tool. So that's the first part. The quick answer to the second part is, how do you analyze if they are successful or not? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. All businesses work on 4, at least for marketing. Is there more revenue coming in? Are the conversions better? Is it helping me increase the lifetime value of my customer? Am I able to retain more customer? And the final and most important one, am I able to stop churn of customers? So you don't need to reinvent the wheel when measuring chatbots. You just measure it according to your mean business goals that you're having, and that's how it works. And last limited point, Forbes recently did a research which says 67% incremental business comes through chatbots or commerce bots, but 87% people would still want to deal with humans. So that's the dichotomy there, right? Though it is growing at 400%, but still 90% of us would want some human interaction whenever it comes to it.
We would also, of course want human intervention, but when the human also starts speaking like a bot, that is the bigger problem because they also read a script. But,
I just wanted to,
yes,
before
Milind.
we probably move on, and I know it actually segues very well into sort of the next part of the discussion, but, you spoke about, Argho, almost the ideal state scenario of the MarTech that will have to be involved at the back end of all of this functioning so beautifully. But I'm sure everyone knows that you have your own experiences, but just to put it out there, it is not so beautiful at all, right? It's always you bought a tech, then you bought another tech, then you bought another tech. All three are different vendors. They've got to be patched on top of each other. Data is lying in different places. Each of these vendors will probably not allow you to share with each other. And then to create a whole sort of a learning model on top of that and make sure, therefore, the CRM talks to the chatbot and then it puts a response out, to the customer that's interacting with you. It is a nightmare. It is difficult. It's not impossible, but you got to make it work. You got to go through the pain. I just thought I would spell out reality instead of, ideal state scenario.
Absolutely. So just a limited point there, right? He's absolutely right. So when I'm buying any technology solution or a MarTech solution, or in this case, whatever it is, you have to deal with it as you deal with humans, right? When I'm hiring a person, right, he or she should come at a right point of investment. He or she will take 6 months to get integrated with the system. And he or she will vary from the KPIs that you want to do. The whole idea here is to be realistic in nature, to be very, very focused on what you want to achieve, right? We do not want to achieve the world here, as he said. Okay, there is a tool and there is a purpose. If that gets ticked off, anything else is a bonus.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, if you have to plan that strategy, and you have to present that to your senior leaders, like typically when you buy a car, what is our mentality? Kitna deti hai? So you have to kind of answer this question, and that's where the KPIs play a very critical role to just tell you what is the return on investment for your company, especially if you have to use MarTech. Like we all know there are a lot of technologies available, but yeah, that's a question that I'm requesting our panelists to kind of at least try and decipher. But you know what, sir, Senthil sir, I really have to ask you because you've talked about bots. So, the simple thing is that, if you have to evaluate your bot and you believe that it is providing real-time assistance, is it really influencing, customer decisions? Have you observed that drastic change in your organization? And were you able to kind of monitor or measure the success and impact on the real-time assistance services that you implemented in your organization?
Yeah, so I will just maybe not able to directly answer that question, but I can throw some light on what we are doing in social media for our customer queries, and they want assistance to real time, where we have got AI-based tools which track the conversation and provide real-time information. That is mostly not very complex questions, but basic information which can be provided and which the customer wants on the real-time basis that we are providing. And so our TAT is very much on a very better TAT we are able to provide from the response side. Another thing what I want to tell you is that we are a financial institution, and trust plays a lot of role, where we need to be really cautious on what kind of communication we are going to give to the customer by using the technology or bots and other tools which you are having. So we are very, very careful on that part, that maybe the technology is providing that opportunity, but at the same time this is going to be involving financial implication for the customer, and a lot of importance and trust has been looked upon the brand from a bank's perspective. We are very cautious on that. I'll just give a small example, like we were just focusing on how to position our recurring deposit product. It's so that happens that in the entire market, that RD, recurring deposit, was a very common product across for a long time. It has been there, but unfortunately the kind of communication or awareness created on that product has not reached to the end user, actually, compared to the other investment in mutual fund others. So we are really coming out with a lot of strategy, a lot of ways in how we can popularize this impact to customers on this recurring deposit product. I'll just give an example. I'll just take 2 minutes of the time, because I thought this is a wonderful platform to convey this thing. Most of you will not be aware that when in a recurring deposit, you make small installment payments, 1,000 rupees or 10,000 or whatever installment you pay for a period of time, maybe 1 year period of time. But every installment gets you the interest applicable for 1 year. So even your 11th or 12th installment you pay, you shell out from your pocket and it goes to the investment, it gets 7% interest. Otherwise, the last installment will not get you for 1 month period, you will get only 3% or so. So this is why I'm telling this point, is that there is still a lot of trust goes is looked upon from brands on how you are communicating and how you are trying to convey that what strength the product has got. So this is where from a financial institution point of view, we one side we want to convey that the clear importance of a product is given to the customer, but at the same time we are cautious that there should not be any kind of miscommunication or misinterpretation which leads to a customer grievance, or in the future it can lead to some financial loss. So we are very particular on that, but we are certainly using this kind of tools and technology to see that the content is efficiently communicated to the customer.
Perfect. Milind, the sector that you work in, I'm very sure a lot of companies must have approached you to help them create these kind of platforms to communicate with their, with their customers. So my question to you is, how can brands maintain a seamless transition between automated responses and human support in their conversational marketing efforts? And in the bargain, I'm very sure they must be asking you the ROI bit in some way or the other. So, what could you give them as critical matrices that, either you give them or you can probably advise them that their brand should focus on to gauge the effectiveness of this particular mode? And more importantly, if you could also highlight on the role of AI, and ML in this entire scheme of things, that would be very helpful. So could you please share some light on this?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, and since you started asking me out, particularly pointing to the portfolio. So it's not an advertisement, but we do have solutions in the what we call customer interaction suite space. And so there's two sides of it. One is, when you want to acquire a customer, and so we kind of call that CPaaS. The communication platform as a service. And again, that's omni-channel. You can have SMS and WhatsApp for business and all sorts of integrations that way. And then on the other hand is the CCaaS, or as we call it, the contact center as a service, and which nowadays is moving a lot into the cloud space as well. So over there, of course, you start out with chatbots, and then you eventually also have human agents, managing the contact center at the back end, right? And you need to make sure to have, the customers are always supposed to have the option. Maybe if the chatbot is not progressing in the direction they need it to, they should have the option to cut over to a human agent to solve the problem. So many of us have been held on either IVR phone lines or even just going on chatting meaninglessly with the chatbot when we really realize we need to press that 9 number or whatever and get to the human agent at some point. So yeah, that's it's critical to make sure that the interface is available to the customer so that they can make that outreach directly.
I'm very sure there's a lot more that you could add. And, as I can see, we're running against time. But I just feel that we've still not kind of touched upon a lot of things. So I'll just have a rapid fire, okay? We'll start from you, Milind. If you have to give 3 key messages to our marketers, especially in terms of, the topic that we are discussing here, that is intelligent content marketing strategy, what are the 3 things that they would need to keep in mind when they are charting it? There could be 3 pillars, there could be 4 pillars, but according to you, what would be those 3 things that they need to emphasize on?
So, as marketers, by the way, and there's always a boss on top of you, right? I mean, even the CEO has the board. So there's those people that also need convincing. A lot of these solutions and technology that we're talking about requires heavy investment upfront sometimes, and the results are to come at some point later. So you've got to be able to, create the case. That would be my first advice, is to be able to create that internal case, show the plan, create a meticulous plan, show it, and then maybe deal with it like in an agile kind of fashion. Don't really aim only for the final end product. Work on MVPs, release those in the market, test them out, and obviously report back on the results, because your leader, who is probably from a generation earlier than you, most likely, is still going to be interested, because they are looking at ROI, they are looking at returns, they are looking at business. The other is, as I probably going back to my first question, the first answer is know your customer, of course, right? Knowing what they want, what kind of intent they've been showing will go a long way in the kind of messaging you're creating, whether using technology or otherwise. But of course, we're talking through technology here. So that certainly is an aspect that we go. And then all the time, having the feedback loop, if it's possible, voice of customer, ask your salespeople to figure out, and get that back to you, or obviously through digital means, if it's available, that whatever you've put out in the market, is it really working for you? I think if these 3 things can be handled, I think you're more or less covered as far as the game goes.
This is really brilliant, because it's important for us. Argho, we would want to know your point of view, please.
On the same thing?
Yes, it's a rapid fire.
Yeah. So 3 things again, right? The first thing is we have to keep in mind, you have to realize, do you need what you need, right? Because the world is using AI does not mean your business needs AI, right? That's acceptance of the fact that you have to be okay not to have AI. You have to be okay only to use ML or whatever it is. That's it. The second point is, as Milind told, I will just reiterate that point. It's the most important point. Have an agile outlook, right? Don't go for the stars, right? You can aim for it, but have a 2-month, 3-month, 12-month, whatever the business states, a stepwise approach or where you want to be. And you should have an effective story for your management to tell why you want to get there, right? That's the second point. The third point, and the most important point here, is define ROI. Right? ROI may not always be dollars, right? ROI might be time, ROI might be effort, yes, ROI might be dollars. So once you have defined ROI, that is when you can go back to your board, go back to your CEO, go back to if you're the team and say, okay, this was the ROI for the quarter and this is what I have achieved. So the whole idea is don't get stuck, A, on dollars, second, on have to use it, right? And third, have to do it all together. That's it.
Thank you, Argho. Samar?
I would go with, I think what Milind was saying that, always first catch the low hanging fruit, correct? That helps you to build the right use case and convince internally. First, your people need to be convinced before you start convincing the partners that how do we use it. Like I'll give a very small example. When we have a big team called inside sales, basically, all the inbound requests that comes, we have about 25-member team who work on that day in, day out to figure out what's the right solution for the partner. We wanted to introduce, we had a good use case for AI here, but we started off with quality, correct, rather than going into products and customer facing and all, because we thought that if we improve the quality of conversation, automatically the productivity will be better. So we got a tool, it used to figure out from the conversation what's the tone, correct, are the customers asking about competition, what's been the revert, correct, and we used to train the people basis the input. We saw almost a 75% jump in the output, correct, within 6 months of implementing that tool. And that gave enough confidence internally to how do we keep investing to ensure that the customer interactions are smoother with a human interface. And today we have at least 4 different AI tools for different purposes which are helping us, only that single person to do a better quality. So I think it's very important we get the right use case. Definitely know your business and the consumers well, because like you said, you don't require AI for everything, thing. And be a little patient with the technology. It doesn't act as fast as you think.
Samar, you just put it so beautifully. Last but not the least, Senthil sir.
Yeah. So my point is that customer experience matters the most. So whatever technology, whatever communication is, or ROI, all these things revolve under customer experience. In fact, if we have our customer experience in place, the other things will always fall in the right section. So that's where we need to focus on. And I just want to share 1 or 2 example. I think the time is running out, but still I'll say this. Sometimes doing nothing also gives a very good customer experience. So you see that in YouTube or OTT or some other channel. No ad also is giving a very good customer experience. So it all depends on what we think that we want to show to the customer, but what exactly the customer wants to see or what experience he is going to have with the brand matters a lot. I was just in the morning, I was discussing with somebody, they're saying that in iPhone member profile, when I'm calling you, my photo is not coming. I was just thinking, okay, you have to do some settings, my privacy settings, you do some changes, and then you can see there's a change and start sharing the photo, but I'm not able to see. In my phone, when the other person is calling, I'm not able to see. So there's something I thought, let me get deep into it and find out what is the problem. Then I just found out this very simple logic, which is this communication applies to, is that you need to update the receiver of the communication, or has to update the contact profile. He has to automatically share update from the sender also. So the point here is that not only communication is from sender side, but from the receiver side, whether I want to see his photo or not, I don't want to see him, I can make that kind of a personalization. Or you let the system ask me whether if there's one more option, you ask you want to see his profile or not. So you do that. So this is very, very unique in this maybe Apple or iPhone. It's not in the other places where we just send our profile to everybody and they can see. But here, the personalization of technology has got the capability to personalize what kind of information the receiver can also see. That's the point I want to drive, that its communication is both ways, is both sender and receiver. So ultimately the receiver takes the final call on how successful the communication is, and that's where technology is really helping us to have personalization and have to have such kind of customer experiences in place. So ROI, everything comes together.
So when we were having the ice-breaking session, I said that collectively all of us here have about 100 years of experience, and with the experience of all of you in the room, I don't know how many light years of experience we've got, but needless to say, it was insightful because all of us out here on the podium have seen the transition in the way content is consumed. And therefore, if we have to create intelligent content, we have to remember who we'll be catering to in the future. So I made a couple of notes which I would like to share, which is in summary to our discussion as well as the topic. is that what puts intelligent in the term intelligent content. That's very important for us to understand. And that means a strategic approach to developing and managing content as a business asset and not just another tick mark in our activity. It is the efficient use of content, processes, people and technology. And needless to say, it has to be focused in such a way that we need to scale it up. It is the content that is designed for automation, including content components that can be, mixed and matched and when I say mixed and matched, typically like an assembly line. Because this is something that one of my marketer friends said, that when we look at the way content has to be generated and pushed out to the public, can we have an assembly line? And that is something that we need to think how technology can play a critical, role out there. The content that can be appropriately structured for retrieval and reuse is what we were discussing, that there is so much of content in legacy companies where we need to be able to retrieve it and reuse it and reposition our products many a times. The content that is personalized in ways that deliver the value to our customers, that is, as I said, the right kind of content to be given to the right person at the right time, irrespective of the channel that we have. So, hence by definition, what do we have intelligent content primarily is the content that is structurally rich and thematically categorized and hence automatically discoverable, reusable, reconfigurable and adaptable. So that is what we need to focus on to make sure that when we create an intelligent content strategy, and for all of you, I'll just summarize on how it can be beneficial to us. It helps us eradicate the constant human touch at different periods of time, which can be replaced in such a way that our humans can use their time more efficiently. We need to provide advanced publishing processes that leans on data and metadata that can be put across all the departments, information together, which sometimes they work in silos, especially because all of our panelists work in very big organizations and they have a lot of departments who contribute to the content. But instead of working in silos, if it's possible to have an assembly line where you have all the information, that is what intelligent content is all about. And needless to say, AI and ML will play a critical part, but as Argho said, that please do not jump on the bandwagon because everyone is. It's important to check whether it's relevant for the business. Well, with that, thank you so much. I kind of tried my level best to summarize it while we were having the ice-breaking session. I hope all of you had a good time listening to us.